Hello, Julie Barkas here, and joining me is Michael Tasner, and we're delighted to welcome you to the Get Connected show. We've been missing for a few weeks here due to some coaching and different live intensives that were scheduled, but we're back now. So, hey, Michael, good to see you.
Hey there, just playing with some of our new little buttons that I made here. So I'm like,
I like it.
Let's get the right one on here. I like it. Everything is good here. Fantastic weather in Buffalo this week. Like the weather is so nice this week. It's going to be like 75, 80. And I just took a real quick walk before this.
Oh, nice. Lucky you.
Get a little bit of fresh air. And I know you've got like a pond behind you and a bunch of really cool things that have to do with nature. So I wish I had that.
It's nice, but as nice as it gets, it's like anything. It's like, oh, it's so cool. I'm going to get out there and go for a walk every day. And then it's like, oh, and there it is through the windows. And oh, did I open up the blinds today and look at the pond? So, right. So it's just like anything, once it's there in front of you, you kind of take it for granted. So it's important to recognize. And I know how much more fulfilled I feel when I get out, take my walk and appreciate the pond and the tree and all that. So.
Love it.
The trees. There's more than one tree here. But hey, if you're tuning in, say hello. We'd love to know what's going on with you. So let us know where you're tuning in from. And we come back and we like to respond to comments. So we're glad that you're here.
What have you been up to from a client standpoint? I know you had some fun intensives and some coaching. And what have you been up to?
Yeah, I'm really going back to the foundational piece of what I teach, and it's all about staff, because if you can't get the right people in place, how much progress can you make? So we did an intensive over 4 days. We broke it up into a couple of weeks, but we were in session for 4 days, and we really talked about everything from how do you get yourself to that place where you attract staff to the place of where you can motivate them, because there's this dynamic that happens in our childcare programs. We get staff in and then they're kind of on this downward spiral, right? Their enthusiasm levels start going downward. So what we really want to do is we want to change that paradigm and shift it so that when they come into our organizations, they're going up and up and up and up instead of downward. So, it's really powerful to be looking at, well, what is it that I as a leader can do more or differently to really have and sustain a motivated team? And that's what we looked at for 4 intensive, amazing days, which I love teaching virtually. I didn't know how I would like that because I'm so used to the live stage and all that, but I'm like, okay, this was really fun. So it was really good. And we already have one of our clients who was in the program is already getting video applications in from people to apply for a job. So I'm really excited about that.
I love it. So I had a strategy session this morning, and one of the owners or one of the investors in the call was like, so what's your number one challenge right now? And I was hoping he was going to say leads and enrollment, because that is a huge issue. But to your point, it's like, I can't get staff, and he's a Montessori center, and saying, well, it's obvious the number of hours typically required for Montessori versus, let's just say, a traditional daycare, could be 600 hours versus 30 hours or 40 hours, for example. So it definitely is, it's like the Wild West out there. So,
yeah. Well, and I think it still remains one of the number one challenges in this industry. The unfortunate part is a lot of people accept it like, oh, well, this is how it is in this industry. But it could change, and it could change in such a powerful, amazing way. And I think that's why sometimes I feel like my face lights up like, oh, miracles are just unfolding, because look at this. They're not struggling with staff anymore, or clients who were having problems getting in people that they'd come in for the interview, but then they'd schedule the interview, but then they didn't show up for the interview, or they'd get the job and then they'd only show up for a week. They're changing all of that. So there's just so much hope and potential in the industry.
No, definitely. Yeah, Kimberly Peaks, I think that's how her last name is pronounced. She's here, and she's like, video interview sounds awesome. We've been doing something similar, or video application rather.
Yes.
And it's very telling, but it also, for us, we use it as a great way to just eliminate. So one of the challenges that I don't have is getting enough resumes, because we largely recruit virtually. Yeah. So you can, whether you're in Florida, California, New York, Europe, it really doesn't matter. So we can put out a job application for a new marketing strategy person and get 500 to 1,000 applications within a week, sometimes even.
Nice.
But I mean, the process then of weeding through 1,000 applications. So
Yeah.
I know that we mentioned on a call a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month or so ago, about putting some of those little keywords that are in there. So like reply with the word happiness, or reply with the word butterfly or something, so that we know that you read it. So that is one of my first lines of defense. And that candidly eliminates 50% or more.
Yeah.
But the video piece, I love. And that for me, it is a great way to then kind of move the process forward. That also is going to eliminate people that are like, I'm just not going to do a video. But
Right.
you can start to see their personality, and people are still a little bit nervous, but I really have enjoyed doing that.
Yeah, I think it's a great step. And we teach a multi-layered approach to hiring, including developing personalized interview questions. So even today, before you and I came live, I was on the phone with one of my clients, and we were talking about, well, what's the interview question I could ask when I have this situation going on? So we really want to look at like your past hiring mistakes that you've made, and then we develop personalized interview questions to help you weed those people out going forward. And I think the process is quite magical. When I get on the phone with my clients and we talk through like, oh, okay, let's shift these questions to now we're going to be asking these, because you have to really look at, well, what's the dysfunction that I, as the leader, can take responsibility for creating in my workplace? And I could consider those to be some hiring mistakes. So now going forward, what questions can I ask to really weed those things out and to not attract those kind of people anymore? So it's part of the process I love.
So I know that we have the topic for today of makeovers.
Yeah.
So I know we were going to talk about like some staff makeovers and things like that you've done. And I went through and pulled up a couple of website makeovers, just kind of show, but it was interesting. It's a really fun topic. And I think this applies to pretty much everyone that's listening. And one thing that I've been hearing a lot of lately is, Michael, I'm looking at buying XYZ center, or I just took over this location. And it's that whole, like, I used to see it with like Chinese restaurant buffets, for some reason, is what comes to my mind, where they were like always under new management. And that was like the big sign that you'd put out, like, under new management. And we've had a lot of questions from these centers of like, well, what do I do to show that we're not the same, or that we're new and improved? And is it a physical makeover? Is it a makeover internally with the team and staff, website and branding, new stuff in the classrooms? So there's obviously a lot of different things that you can do to really show that you are new and improved and fresh. But we wanted to try and tackle talking through staff and websites as kind of the primary focus. And I'm not an architect, so wouldn't be the best person to start saying, hey, you want to go do XYZ to freshen it up. But maybe Julie has some tips there.
Flowers, lots of flowers.
I like it.
Inside and out flowers. Yeah.
So let's start with websites, and I'll just kind of show a few things here and kind of talk through kind of how we approach them and kind of why I'm doing that. I'll give you a little bit of time to track down some of the staff stuff that I made.
Oh, my video. I have a video I'm going to show you guys.
So let me bring up an example. So there's a fun tool, and let me see if I can share this correctly. Hang with me for 1 second. Okay, share screen. Okay. All right. So I'm going to give you the befores and the afters. So this is Imagination Learning Center. This is a center that we work with. Wonderful group of people. And while I think their before was still fine, this was from 2016. So they really hadn't updated it. It was quite boxy. You can see that they largely.
Hey everyone, it's kind of loud in here.
Let's say sorry.
I'll tell you why it's loud in here in a minute. But I do want to this amazing team who I'm working with, and everybody works.
You're on. That's okay. That woke me up.
I couldn't get it to go off.
No worries.
You're just talking to me. Pretend I'm coming to work for you.
Yes.
Right. All right. I don't know where it's coming from now.
Exactly.
Do you want us to share your video?
Otherwise, I'll be switching between the two of us.
I don't know if you can mute me, Michael. Sorry.
You're fine. Let's see.
Hi, I'm Deidre.
All right. I muted you for the short term. As you see, we do these things live, so there's always fun stuff that comes up. I thought it was like something that was like upstairs. I'm like, where's all that noise coming from? I like it. All right, let me go back to sharing screen here. 1 second, everyone. All right. All right. So it was pretty boxy. I mean, it was 100% stock images. Nothing was really authentic images. Did not work on mobile. So there's just a very, very easy way you can start to make the graphics kind of smaller, the window smaller, and you can start to see that it doesn't work on mobile. It had a calendar of events, which is fine, but fonts and things like that were all over the place. Video is fine, but there were, 404 errors on the website. Navigation was pretty clunky. It hadn't been updated in years and years. So the new design shows the higher end vibe, the higher end feeling, big, bold images. We moved away from that boxy feel. We have consistent fonts. We went through and made sure that all of the colors, so the purples from the logo match the purples on the website, for example, making sure that we're also matching the different fonts. We went through and really, when you're doing a website makeover, you want to look at and make sure that you are putting all of your programs on there. What are the different programs that you want to make sure that you are featuring? So putting out all the little dreamers, the different ages, putting all of that stuff front and center. The other big thing when you have a multi-location center is you want to make sure that you have a separate page for each of the different centers. And you want to make sure that you've got the map listings, for example. You can put some of the different things, enrollment papers, all that stuff kind of front and center. So here's one example. I'll show you another example, and then we'll switch back to this and see if Julie has her video. Another example is Discovery Village. So this was their website from last year. It was not a terrible website by any means, but it just had an outdated feeling and an outdated vibe. So these are authentic, which I love. I love authentic images. They did have kind of colors that were matching the logos, but the navigation was a little bit clunky. Really wasn't any movement or anything like that within the website. But again, there were some good things. So, having these authentic images matching the colors, talking about the values, but these healthy snacks, that looks really good. But we wanted to just show, again, a higher end, kind of just a more robust experience. So what we did was we moved to movement. So this is kind of one of the design trends of actually having videos that are in the background. So being able to put videos and having that movement, so you can actually, and this is authentic from their center, and having kind of a bold call to action. Request a tour right here, front and center. We still used a lot of the same images that they had, but you can start to see movement. So images, they're moving accordingly. You can.
I just want to say, Michael, that I think this is brilliant. Right away from that first page that you showed me, where the people are moving and dancing. Well, you know me and dancing, but that pulls you right into this. So I really like this makeover a lot.
No, thank you.
Have they gotten some good comments from it?
Oh, definitely. Hey, Nick, can you close the door for me? Thank you.
Because you just feel like you're right here and you're in there with the kids playing and singing and dancing, and I that's just really super engaging.
Yeah, it just takes it from, and again, this design's not terrible, but as you said, when I started looking at the vibe and their feeling of kind of what are they aiming to accomplish, it's like we wanted to have, and you can replicate if needed. You can replicate really, really good videos, but authentic videos and things like this, obviously, when you have assets like this, it makes it a bit more impactful. And at the end of the day, I mean, I want to make sure that we have, I mean, the schedule a tour, I mean, is front and center. But as you go through this site, you'll see really big, bold images, huge images. So, I mean, again, we have the schedule and we have all that stuff right there, but really trying to convey this right from the ground up.
No,
so
fantastic.
those are two examples, but when I'll turn off screen share for now, but when I'm approaching a redesign of, I mean, how do we approach it? What do we look at? It's a lot of, I mean, what do you want parents to feel when they come to the website? And it's trying to get those emotions, and then those emotions are going to then help dictate and drive the imagery, and they're going to dictate the types of videos and things like that. And there are a lot of really great high-end stock video places. And what I like to do is I like to supplement video with that really high-end stock. So I mean, pretty much everyone is, I'm using too much power. I'm not sure what that is. So I guess for today's technical issue day.
I know, right?
It's being able to just add a little bit of zing or a little bit of power or create a little bit of emotion. And you can do that through kind of adding little short snippets of 2 or 3 second videos. There's lots of video blocks is one that I buy a lot of videos from. I mean, there's lots of places that you can buy those. And what you're doing, you're not just slapping on the full entire video, but rather you are adding that to something that you've already done. And then from there, it's kind of layering on some music. And you don't have to autoplay. That's a trend from 5-10 years ago. The video auto plays and then it's screaming loud, or like where you can't figure out where the heck the audio is coming from. And so that trend, I mean, again, is not a trend of today. But if someone does want to hear the music and kind of hear some soft music, it kind of gives the vibe of that accordingly. So I always like to start with, when I'm doing a makeover of the website, let's talk about the vibe that you're trying to create. Let's talk about the culture of your center. Looking at the logo, and not every logo that I've seen is amazing. So sometimes it doesn't make sense to necessarily remake over your entire website off of a logo. If you know that the logo was like clip art from Microsoft front page, or I mean, clip art from like 2003, for example, I mean, it's not a great idea to try and build the vibe around your logo. So when you're doing a makeover, often we're also doing a little bit of a refresh of logo assets, and just making sure, again, that vibe fits. Had the same center that I referred to earlier that was talking about hiring the Montessori teachers and staff. He was showing me some of their stationery, and it just spoke to me. Like it just was so crisp and clean, and the logo was a piece of the logo, which was a tree, was kind of watermarked on the back of their PDFs, and the green was all consistent. Green goes along with the trees and the name of their Montessori. So like it just tied in. And when you're aiming to create that type of brand, you need that. I mean, it doesn't make sense to have, I mean, an old looking logo, a nice website, and then you don't really have any letterhead, or it looks like you print your letterhead and then you're like copying it and it's just black and white. Like there's that whole flow. I mean, it could,
like there's a disconnect. Yeah.
Definitely.
And how exciting is that when you go through the makeover and the owners, you know, some of these programs must be like so excited and feel so in sync with their programs and so in alignment. Because I know sometimes when I feel like, oh, my artwork's out of whack or this website's really not flowing, you just kind of feel like a little discombobulated. Like you don't want to show anybody anything.
The great feedback. I wish I could convince the owner the need for a new logo. And it's interesting that you say that, because I every now and then I go off on rants, not too often, but every now and then. and I think the biggest disconnect is right now, I mean, and I don't know, Julie, if this is what you're seeing, but at least this is what I'm seeing, is that a lot of centers that used to have a wait list, they don't have a wait list right now. And it's not that everyone is struggling, because there's a lot of centers that they're doing exceptionally well right now.
Yeah.
But now is not the time to kind of pull back the reins or say, well, the holidays are going to be coming up and we can kind of pull back on our marketing, or well, we're going to try and do an open house. Maybe we'll pause that. You've got to keep rolling. And if you're sitting there saying, well, we have 100 enrollments, our capacity is 200, we wanted to get to 150, it's not just going to magically typically happen.
Right.
I mean, there's obviously steps and things that you have to put in practice. And I'm still seeing, and I know we've talked a lot about this the last couple of months, that a lot of owners are still in analysis paralysis. And I think, I can't give you and I would love to have some people chime in that are listening live. I still think that it has a lot to being worried that COVID's going to return and they're going to get back into a cash crunch.
Yeah.
So they're conserving all their cash. And I've had a few of those calls this week of, so I want to do this. I want to do some more marketing, Michael, but let's wait until November.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, well, what's going to change between now and November? Well, I need to make sure that COVID doesn't come back. And so what if it does?
Right.
What are you doing then to prepare from now until November? And it's the chicken or the egg, and it's a tough one. I mean, there's no perfect answer. There's no perfect solution, but you've got to start investing not only in marketing, but in growing your team and your people and your curriculum. And it just, things have to come to another level.
Yeah.
Because
and I think it's so important to also acknowledge and to realize that things can happen much faster than you think they should or can, especially if you get your heart back in the desire of what you want to create. And I think that's where a lot of business owners are getting stuck, especially in the childcare industry. It's like, we're not really saying, okay, yes, I'm putting my stake in it. This is what I want. It's more like, well, maybe I'll put my stake in it and we'll see what happens. So there are a lot of people, and the ones who are succeeding right now are the ones who are putting their stake in it, saying, yes, this is going to happen. Yes, I'm going to be successful. Yes, I'm going to come out on the other side much stronger than I went into this. But if we're struggling now, chances are we were struggling before, and we were struggling before for the same reasons that we're struggling now. And I really encourage people to think about that. And is it always true 100% of the time? No. But there's a good chance that it is, because if you're, saying, oh, we're not going to invest in ourselves now, was that something that you would say to yourself previously as well? And now it's just escalated up a little bit. So really watch your own patterns, because they are the patterns that are limiting or inhibiting your success. And I really think that once you put your heart in it and you say, yes, Michael, you are the solution, I'm going to go with you, or whoever it might be, and whatever it is that you want to do, and you're aligned with that solution, bam, things can start to shift and happen. And that's why I tell our owners, pay attention to what it is that you truly desire. It's so important.
That's great. And I'm doing the same thing at my business and personally as well, just so that I'm in alignment, because I think a lot of things have been moving so fast and furious that if you don't pause and if you don't take a step back and you don't start to reflect on these things, it's just you're going to have your day running you, as I like to say, where and that happens to me often, unfortunately, where you
other people's agendas.
Exactly. It's like, so you're jumping from this to this to this, and I'm like, hey, I thought I was going to spend 2 hours planning out my next 30 days and the goals and things like that, and instead,
God, that's just not me.
I'm
like, I have this whole week to do this, and it's like, yeah, you don't. You have an hour.
and it just magically doesn't happen. So, but the other thing, I think it's, and I'm trying to think the right way to even describe this, but I think it's just a lot of tough love that the definition of insanity is, continuing to do the same thing over and over and over and expecting different results. And I keep hearing from a lot of centers that they're just expecting something is going to change, and just out of nowhere. And I'm not saying that they're not, manifesting, and they're not doing I mean, kind of having the vision and the dreams, and they're not doing any of that stuff because I'm not 100% sure if they are or they're not. But when I'm saying, well, tell me where you are, tell me where you want to go. So that again makes that gap of whether it's small, whether it's wide. And saying, well, what are your plans to get there? Like, what do you need to get there? Well, I think we'll end up getting more enrollments. I'm saying, well, how? What are you doing differently the last 2 months that you weren't doing the 2 months before that? Or well, if we can get some more staff that comes in, that I can open up this 5th classroom. So, okay, well, what have you been doing to hire in the past? Well, we would throw it up on Craigslist. Okay, so well, are you doing anything different? What are you doing in addition to that to make sure that it happens? Well, I'm going to try Craigslist again. And it's this repeating pattern because people like to go for what's comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
And as many different types of people, Tony Robbins, my first life coach, Matthew Ferry, I mean, they said that your brain is designed to keep you safe and to keep you alive. And that is kind of how you add. So investing in marketing, or going and using a recruiting firm, or throwing $500 to make your website look better, whatever it is, like those are almost kind of like scary to you. So you resist them, but then you continue to repeat those patterns over and over and over and over again. Yeah. And I can say it till I'm blue in the face, but I really, I read all the metrics. Both Julie and I keep a pulse on this market daily and throughout the day, not even just daily, but constantly. And this is going to continue to be a challenging time for the next 6 to 12 months. But for those centers that are making the pivots and the shifts, and they're reinventing themselves and making over their websites, their staff, maybe improving their buildings, doing different things like that, you will come out on the top. You'll come out ahead, especially if you have that compelling vision that Julie and I have talked so much about. But if you stay on the sidelines hoping that something is going to happen, it's going to be a bit of a challenge for you.
Yeah, and I think the biggest repeating pattern that I see people getting caught up in is the repeating pattern inside of their mind, the mindset, what the mindset dictates and what their thoughts dictate. So that's one of the biggest pieces of work that we do, whether it comes to attracting staff or building, more profitability in your childcare business or more enrollments, is really shifting the energy behind the action that you're going to take. And to me, that's where the foundational shift has to happen. It has to happen in your mind and in your thoughts first. And then we figure out what action you're aligned with, so that it really becomes something where you're in the flow, and it becomes easy, and it becomes more effortlessly that you're achieving and working towards that result. So, keep that in mind, that the biggest pattern that you might have to break is the one that's going on inside of your mind with your thoughts that say it's not possible, it's not going to happen, everybody's going through this, whatever it is. That's a pattern, and that needs to be broken.
Love it. Do you want to share
the biggest pattern that needs to be broken?
Do you have that video? Do you want to aim share? You want to send me the link on the little
private chat? I do. Yeah. I'm going back there because last time when I did it, it just started playing and I have no clue what else was playing and more videos were playing. I was like, I don't know what's going on. So hang on here. Let me come back.
No worries.
And can I screen share, or otherwise I could just send you the link?
I think you should see a little button that says share screen. Do you have that?
Yeah. Hang on a second. I'm just getting my video up.
I keep getting pop-up notifications from Spirit Halloween. I guess Halloween is right around the corner.
I know, it is, right?
I started going, so I took the kids the other day, and then they have some good marketing. So once you visit their website, then they're following you all over the place using remarketing pixels, and they ask for your phone and email when you're in the stores, and they're sending you more coupons. And they've got it's a really interesting model where they're making all their revenue from September until early to middle of November.
Yeah.
Just kind of crazy stuff.
Wow. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Now I want to tell you that this is, I'm going to make sure I'm doing this right. Share screen. I think I'm doing it right. Michael, you can let me know if I'm doing it wrong. I've gotten really good at this in Zoom. All right. So do you see my Vimeo screen?
I don't know if I have to add this to the stream. Hold on. Let me just double check and make sure that it's working okay, because I actually haven't looked at it on the other way yet.
So I will say this is an old video, and this was a private on-site program that I did. And this team was really struggling with their motivation levels. Their energy was low. And when we first started the program, the people are like, okay, I gave up, 2 days of my time. So I hope this is worth it. And this video I want to take you is just 3 hours into the program. It is, gosh, I don't even know how old it is anymore. It's about 3 years old. So it's a while old. But I want you to see the dynamic and the shift and the change that can happen in your team in just a matter of hours. And I'm more than happy to reveal the formula too, to making this transformation happen. So Michael, you could let me know. Oh, now I'm back there.
I think you just have to hit the play button.
Okay. All right. Yes, I'm not seeing our screen anymore. I'm just seeing this. So I'm going to play a little bit and then I'll stop it. But like I said, this is an old video that was taken with my flip video camera. That's how old it was. I think that's what it was taken with, or maybe a very old cell phone. All right, here we go. So I want you just to kind of really tune in and look at this team from the point of they were so disengaged when they first walked in. I want you to see how they are now.
Hey everyone, it's kind of loud in here. I'll tell you why it's loud in here in a minute. But I do want to introduce you to this amazing team who I'm working with. And everybody, we're on Facebook Live on my business page. But I'm Julie Barkas. Hi, everyone. And I just wanted to let you know that we've been going through an amazing activity where we're recultivating our vision. And one of the things that we've done is we really heard the owner of the company's story, right? And we pulled out some keywords. Right, here's Deidre. We pulled out keywords from Deidre's story, and then we're recrafting the vision to include those. And what we're working on doing is really creating as many emotional connections with the vision and with the team as we possibly can. So I wanted you guys listening, because this is how I think you're going to create the absolute best workplace for your childcare staff, is to really get them involved with cultivating the vision. So I want you to hear firsthand how this team feels after spending the morning with me and Deidre working through this activity so that they can really be bought into the vision and excited about it. So let me hear from you guys. How excited are you? Is there anybody who wants to say anything specific about what it's meant to you to get your input in from this activity? All right, woo! Here's Miss Alicia, right?
Alicia, yeah.
Here's Alicia.
I just feel that it's a very positive experience. It's very enlightening. It's the type of feeling it tugs at your heartstrings. You get to put input into things that you really didn't think about before. So it's very positive, and you should try it. This is a great woman. Oh. She's very, very informative, very good.
Thank you.
And that's all I have to say.
Fantastic. And I tell you what, teams walk into the room and they never know quite what they're going to experience with me. But I really give you all kudos because you've opened up and we've recrafted vision. We've got like 3 different versions right now, but they incorporate all of these amazing words that we're all so connected with. Yeah? Does anybody else want to say anything? What the experience has been like? No? Anyone? Okay. Gosh, they'll be loud as a group. It's shy. All right, anyone, Celia, you want to say anything? No? Okay, shy individuals. All right, let me see some shows.
That's great.
All right. So basically, yeah. So, the whole idea here is really like they started off and it was like demotivated, not wanting to be there. And 3 hours into the program, they are cheering the leader on. And it just continues like that. I don't know if anybody else in the videos, I think we lose a little volume here, but we just basically ask them if you feel that every single employer out there should be going through this process, and they all cheer and say, yep, absolutely 100%. So what we did is we spent the morning just really crafting a vision, and we didn't even get to that place yet in this video, but it was just amazing. So and that's all I wanted to share with that.
I like it. So I know that you
And
have.
I could talk more about it.
Oh, and I know you have an entire structured process, so I don't want to go through the whole process, but is there maybe one or two things that you could share with our listeners that, because I know that, I mean, team comes up for you every day, and it comes up for me, I wouldn't say just as often, but I mean, we're having to work with the team.
Yeah.
So, again, we're driving the leads, and then we're working with a director or an assistant or a manager or someone to make sure that they're actually following up and that they're staying engaged. And if those people are disengaged in the business, if they are unmotivated, I mean, obviously that's going to reflect negatively on the tours, on their energy on the phone. And then it's also then going to reflect negatively on me, because what ends up happening is we'll drive a bunch of leads, and then it's, well, Michael, none of these leads turned into enrollments. And then I'll say, okay, well, that's strange, because I'll just use simple numbers. But if you got 50 leads and another center got 50 leads, and I'll say, well, this center, they did 34 tours, you did 6, and you got 2 new enrollments, but they got 25. And we're still comparing apples to apples, other than you're in a different location. And I start to unpack that, and more often than not, it's not the quality of the leads, it's the quality of the person that's nurturing that relationship and how connected they feel to the center, so that that energy isn't kind of spewing through the phone and through the emails and in the tours and things like that.
Yeah. And the process that I took this team through was basically getting the owner back connected. So there was some work that Deidre and I did prior to this event happening. And this is how I work with a lot of our clients, where the owner and we're talking for days or weeks, sometimes before, to really get the story nailed down. And we tell a story in such a compelling way that people get connected to it. And that's probably the biggest thing, is getting the owner back connected, because if the owner's not connected, or that lead person, like you said, during the tour is not connected, nobody else is going to be connected, because you could kind of try to pretend or whatever, but that's not going to last that long. But when you authentically yourself get back in touch with your why you're doing what you're doing, and you're feeling excited, and you're getting more and more pumped, then when you start telling your story and sharing it with people, they connect with it. And to me, that's when it becomes like pure magic, as you saw from the cheering in the video, which is why I love that video, because it's just a testimonial to say, you know what, I just walked in 3 hours ago with this team. They were demotivated, they were disengaged. And now, after 3 hours of working together, they are pumped, they are excited, they are cheering for their owner, which to me was like the greatest thing to see. It was like, you mentioned Deidre's name, and they're like, woo, yes, woo, because they just felt so connected to her and the story that she told. And that could happen for everybody who's watching this, is that you can get so reconnected with your program that everybody else who comes in is just going to fall in love with it. And that's what we want to create. And like Michael said, he could, be the wizard with getting leads rolling in and all that. But if we're not securing the enrollments or getting the right staff in place, that's when we know that we need to really engage in some reconnection.
It's really interesting as you're talking about this, because as I've said in the past, I know I get just as much out of these as we're giving, and it just causes both of us to kind of reflect and see how we can improve our businesses in order to be able to better serve the centers that we work with.
It's true.
What are maybe 1 or 2 tips to have the owner get reconnected? Because I do think that is, as you were explaining it, that's starting to click, that I think that's the case a lot more often than I was thinking.
Yeah.
And even for me, there's many days where I come in and it's other people's agendas, and then you're just dealing with fires and problems. And it makes it tough for the owner to then stay that engaged and that excited. But I think I know the answer that you're going to give, but I would love to kind of hear for some of the people that are listening. How could you, even in a shorter exercise rather than days, but are there some things that they could do to start to reconnect with the business? Because that obviously in turn it's not always, even though I might think is the case. I was, well, it's someone else's. I mean, their energy is off. Well, in reality, it very well could be my energy or what I'm projecting then that is driving their energy.
Yeah, it's true. And I think once you get reconnected with your vision and your story, you become a magnet for those people who are there and meant to serve your vision, authentic and genuinely. But otherwise, we try to force feed it. We're like, okay, I got an interview coming in. I'm going to get excited.
I think we just lost Julie. I'll give her a sec. While she's coming back, I will make sure I'm throwing a few more pieces of content. So the reason that I asked that question was that in working with a lot of owners, it seems like they're worried about their staff. They're worried about, I mean, is the staff, are they following up with the leads? Is the director welcoming the parents? And they can have all of the systems and procedures and sound is really low. Good. Let me get this up. Thank you. No. Let's see, is that any better? If you could let me know. Let's see.
Still live?
Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. We were here 1 second, and then I guess my audio went low. So does my audio sound better?
Yeah, your audio sounds good. Yeah, the only thing that happened on my screen was a flash to the generic StreamYard page.
Yeah, it's weird.
So
Today's
we don't
the day of
live anymore.
So the question that you were just starting to answer, and I think it's a really good one, is what are some of the things that you would suggest the owner do to kind of reignite their passion a little bit? And I think I know the answer, but because we've talked a lot about it, but I would love to hear if there's some other things as well that you would suggest.
To me, it's about reconnecting, and there's all different ways and different techniques that you can really implement to get reconnected. But I'll share with you a quick example. Years ago, I was working in corporate America, and I was so disconnected from the job I was doing. I became a manager, a budget manager, financial manager. And it was like sometimes we were there until like midnight at times of the year, balancing numbers to the exact penny. And I started thinking about my job, and I was really burnt out, and I was tired of doing it, tired of working from 7 to midnight. So one thing I did is I took a white piece of paper, and I'm like, okay, well, why do I do what I do? And I was working for a telecommunications company. So I'm like, all right, well, you make a good salary. I'm like, okay, yeah, that's part of it. But then I just really got back to asking myself, well, why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? Why do you do what you do? What difference does it make? So I scaled it back and I worked through all these levels. And finally, I got to the place that said, you know what? I work for telecommunications. Because of the work that I do, we're able to connect 911 calls. And because 911 calls are save lives, that's in essence what I'm doing. I'm here balancing these numbers and I am saving lives. So I got really rejuvenated with my job in the midst of the long hours and everything else, because I brought myself back to this place of why am I doing what I'm doing? And I never really thought about it prior to this point in my career, like about my why and it being so incredibly important. But typically our why, I want you to remember a time when your why was on fire, and it might have been when you first opened the doors to your program or the first day of business and you're like, oh, I'm so excited, I'm going to impact so many people. But it's the same thing when new staff start. It's like they start spiraling downward, like right after they start, yep, I'll work for you. And then their enthusiasm starts going down and down and down and down. Same thing happens to us a lot, right? To stay motivated. So you've got to really pull yourself back and think about it mentally, write out on a piece of paper or do a mind map. I used to love doing like little flow charts, like, okay, well, why am I motivated? What do I do? So I really want you just to pull yourself back to a place that says, how did I feel on that first day when everything was fresh, bright, shiny, and new? And I opened up the doors to walk into my building. How did I feel? And what was I telling other people about that moment? And that could be a place of excitement. That could be a place of reconnection for you. And for some of you, it's going to be a very strong place of reconnection. Others of you might have to really scale it back and tell yourself a whole new story about why you do what I do. Like, I did in corporate America. Look at why you do what you do. You change lives. Well, what does that mean? So when I get on the phone with you, I will scale this back to a place where you are like crying tears of joy, or doing happy dance because you are so connected to that place that says, yeah, this is my why. This is why I do what I do. And it doesn't always have to be in direct relation to the service that you offer. I love Tom Shoes. I think it's Tom Shoes that says, we're not in the shoe business. We're in the customer service business. We love people. Shoes just happens to be the end product of what we're doing. So there's something in there that you can fall madly in love with. And, that's one starting place. Another starting place is to really think about all the different things that you love and all the different things that you can be grateful for in your program. And my boyfriend showed me a video last night of his mother talking about this assisted living home that she's in. And he was just cracking up. I'm like, what's so funny? He's like, my mother is here talking about the feature that she loves about where she lives. He says, and you wouldn't believe what it is. I said, send me that video link. So he showed me the video. And basically she's sitting there talking and smiling and really getting into the heated toilet seats. And for like 5 minutes, she's like, you could come and you could read a book in there and it's so comfortable. You won't ever want to leave. And she's just like getting into this in this really enthusiastic fashion. You and your staff need these connection points, whether it's the crayons you use, the type of diapers you use, whatever it is, the coffee that you serve, those fresh blueberry muffins. And you think about these things and you get back in love with all the aspects that you're building into your program. And then your staff will follow suit. And there's specific exercises that you can lead them to really get back to this place, but really, go back to a place of gratitude and look around you and make a list of everything that's in your surroundings. And then talk about one of those things. Why are you so grateful you have a cell phone? Why are you so grateful you have a pen? But those can become selling features. So it might be the diapers that we use. Oh my goodness, it leaves less of a green footprint or a footprint here on earth, whatever it might be. But you get excited about those things, the cleaners that you use or the carpet that you have, whatever it might be. But you find reasons to be in love. And the more love that you could feel towards your surroundings and what's filling them, the more you can communicate that with the parents. And I remember when I first decided to invest in this home and where I live right now, at first it was like the realtor just kind of gave me a virtual tour and I was disconnected. I was like, don't know if I really like that place. But then the son came in, son of the owner, and he's like, let me show you what's really cool about this house. And he told me everything he loved. And by the time he was done, I had 10 things in my heart that I loved about the house too. And I was going to have the house, right? The pond in the backyard and the swan that occasionally swims back there and the heating controls being so close to the bedroom and all these different things that he went through as to reasons why he loved this place. They became my reasons why I loved this place. And that's the same thing that's true with your team. When you find the things that you love, you're going to be able to pass that love along and find other people who are in love with the same things.
And we've talked, so our topic today was makeovers. Yeah. And as you just went through all of that, I think the overarching mission, the overarching message for today is you've got to make sure that you've done a makeover on you. And we talked about that earlier. And if you're not ready to receive, if you're not ready to move to the next level, if you're operating from a place of fear, saying, well, what if this and what if that? Well, I would challenge you back and say, well, what if everything does go right? What if you get all the different things that you've been wanting? What if you, I've been talking to more home centers. I interviewed a home center last week. It was the first time I've ever kind of done a live with a home center. And she was so well-spoken and had just as much passion, if not even more passion, than people that have 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 locations. She's like, this is what I was like born to do. And I take each day with gratitude, and it doesn't matter where you are, but you want to start to look at what is that compelling vision of where you want to go. And it doesn't have to always be, well, I want to get full and open up 50 locations and franchise. And it could be that you have 3 kids now at a home center and you want to get to 8. And here's why you want to do that, because you want to provide those home cooked meals because you just love to cook and you want to share that joy with the kids that you're serving, and to be able to ease the parents' minds a little bit because you know how stressful it was because you were a single mother growing up with, like, there's all these connection points that Julie was talking about, these little things to reconnect you.
And all that on your website, I think, is absolutely brilliant too. When you have all those things that you love and that you connect with, and then, and I'm sure that you've seen this too, Michael, and some of the website makeovers that you've done, where it becomes, more of a piece of art that people love. Even their websites, it's like, go to my amazing website, as opposed to, don't go there. There's not much to see. But this is my site. And I feel that your website should just be an extension of you and your vision and all the things that you love about what you're doing, kind of compiled to this really nice online place that people can go and say, wow, okay, I so connect with this.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah. Even the colors that you use. I mean, when I had my website redone and we did our book cover for our childcare, I'm looking around to see if I have one. But even when we did our colors, and I'm not sure how you count people, even if you do on colors, but I took a picture of a sunset that I loved, and I gave it to my designer at the time, and we made my site all these colors, and then we built it into the book too, the yellow, the orange. So it was like this picture of a sunset, and I had another picture of this flower arrangement that I absolutely loved, and we took those colors and put those into the website.
Yeah, I mean, there's the whole psychology of colors. And when I'm looking at doing any kind of rebranding or anything like that, I mean, I'll look at, tell me a little bit more about the brand. So I won't go through every color, but some of the most commonly used colors in the childcare space, yellow, for example. So, I mean, yellow connotates kind of creativity, happiness. It's the color of the sun. I mean, warmth. So that kind of spills through. And if that's your brand, then you want to make sure that you have yellow. I'm a huge fan of using the color orange. So everything that I do has orange infused in it somewhere. And orange, even though people thought that it was green, simply connotates success because it's the color of money. Orange actually connotates kind of success, but also confidence. So that's kind of why I like the color orange, but also because it's not used as often.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's usually a lot of people that are using kind of yellows and blues and things like that. And blue kind of connotates trust and kind of loyalty. So, I mean, blue has some nice features to it. The one that typically isn't used much in the childcare space or nearly as much as black and white.
Yeah.
But it definitely still can be used. So there was one center that we talked to in San Francisco, and she was an architect, and she had like these really high-end, like home centers, but not home centers, like insane, in my opinion, insane prices. But I guess it's not insane if you live in San Francisco. But it was like $4,000 a month, like $1,000 a week. I'm like, so is that like a yearly price? And it's like, no, that's per month. And but her whole thing was all about, she used black and white because she was not the whole Frank Lloyd Wright house stuff, but she was all about kind of the curves and shapes of the playgrounds and the buildings. So it was more like having clean and formality and wanted to create kind of like drastic and sophisticated style. So colors can definitely say a lot. And there's obviously a whole psychology of colors around food boxes and different things like that, and colors that solicit hunger, and could talk all day about the psychology of colors. But as Julie said, I mean, it's going back to, I mean, what's the brand that you're looking to create, but more so, what are the emotions that you're looking to create? And I think a lot of us kind of get lost along the way of, these are the emotions I want to create. This is what I want the company to stand for and be about. And I think if we had one good action step for you today, it's to look at reigniting your energy, getting reconnected with your business so that you can be in a better place to look at doing a makeover with your staff, do a makeover of your website. But again, it starts with you. I mean, it starts with you being in that right frame of mind and being able and ready to move that needle.
Yeah, and don't hide from your website either. And I don't know if you face this as an issue either, Michael, where people are like, well, don't put my picture up on the website. Or I don't want my video up on it. But you've got to come out of hiding. If you're hiding, you are not going to attract the people you are meant to serve. You're not going to be attracting the staff who are meant to serve your vision. So get yourself out of a hiding, and give Michael pictures to put on your website of you, talking to people. Because it's going to really make a powerful difference in the people that you attract to you versus you hiding versus you coming out and saying, "Here I am."
Well, and also video. That's
Or
the
video.
other thing when we're looking at doing advertising and things like that. Video is so much more compelling, and you don't have to be the most well-spoken person. You don't have to be camera trained. Like, it's as long as you're speaking from the heart, you're being authentic, you're telling your story, magical things will happen.
Yeah.
So we're already coming up on the top of the hour. Sorry for a few of our little technical glitches, but it makes the show more authentic and fun, in my opinion. Right. So we hope that you enjoyed our episode talking about makeovers and reconnecting with your business and your center. Julie, I know that you do this stuff all day, every day. You just completed one last week. You've got masterminds, you've got consulting. Where can people go to learn more? To kind of learn a little bit more about how they could work with you.
Sure. So if you're tuning in, go to childcarebusinesssuccess.com. And what I encourage you to do is we just put up a free membership. So basically you click on free success group. And once you get into that, you're going to start getting some training from me. So there are some videos right on the homepage, but you're going to get a couple things. If you activate a free membership, you're going to get access into our free Facebook group. I'm saying free a lot because we have all these free tools, but you're also going to get a 30-part mini series on what's demotivating your staff in the workplace. And not only that, but we also put up a gift from our very own Michael Tasner, which is some done for you social media. So if you're not sure what to post and you would like, post a day, we've got it over for you at childcarebusinesssuccess.com. But get plugged in, especially if staff is your issues. You could also shoot me a note if you'd like to get on my calendar for consultation.
Love it. And mine is simply localchildcaremarketing.com. Lots of freebies and things like that. So if we can help you in some way, our step one is just doing kind of a enrollment acceleration call. So where are you stuck? I mean, where do you want to get to? And just diving in and seeing what we can do. Do you have a quote for us, Julie? I know we always love ending with I've missed my quotes of the week.
I don't have one, but I could probably find one pretty fast, maybe.
Yeah, definitely. From your book, ideally.
My book, I also have this book that, to me, it's like an amazing book. It's called The Dynamic Laws of Prosperity.
Ah, okay.
And this is by Catherine Ponder. I'm wondering if there's like quotes in here.
Look that book up.
Anything that I can just pull out that would be a quick quote. And if you have one, you could always trump me while I take my time here.
So there's
I'm going to do one.
There's a few people that I'll throw one, and then when you find yours.
Okay.
So I'm a big, as most of you know, I'm a big Walt Disney fan. So I kind of keep track of kind of Walt Disney quotes. So let's see, grab ones that I like. When you believe in a thing, believe in it all the way, implicitly and unquestionable. And I think that's something that I think a lot of people need to hear right now, is that they're, even for myself, I mean, I'm always, not always, but often questioning things. And if you really believe in the mission that you're on and your vision, you got to go all in.
And I think you have to remember that what you believe, you're right.
Exactly.
And it's like, and you're talking about quotes. So Henry Ford what did he say? Whether you believe you can or you can't, you're right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it's all about, what do you believe and what are you willing to stretch your mindset to believe that you can do, and that's possible. And that's really important.
Love it. Did you find a quote, or do you want me to
no, I just gave him.
It's okay. No, you just, I think I'm ready for coffee number 2 today. So thank you as always for tuning in. We plan on being back here next week, Wednesday as well, unless we need to play with schedules, but we always try and go live at least, every other week, sometimes weekly, as much as we can to be here to serve you all as much as we can. So thank you. Share it, like it, give us some love. Have a wonderful rest of your day, your week, weekend, and we will see you back here next week. See y'all.